Hello friends, welcome to new IoT tutorial. In the previous video we saw how to send data from ESP8266 to Azure Event Hub and store the data in a table format in Azure uh, storage account. In this tutorial we'll see how to create a new graphs, charts and gauges using Microsoft Power BI. So Microsoft Power BI is a very powerful tool that can be used to represent the data graphically. So as you can see here, we are actually live streaming our data that is coming from our ESP8266. So let's just get started with it. So first thing is you need to download this software called Microsoft Power BI Desktop. So all you need to do is just go to your website powerbi.microsoft.com and just download the Power BI Desktop. Once you have downloaded the Power BI Desktop, you need to create an account in Power BI. Remember, this account is different from your Azure account. So just click your sign up for free and you can create your trial account in Power BI. So once you have created the Power BI account and you have downloaded the Power BI desktop, you need to open the Power BI desktop software. So basically there are two ways to get data from Azure into Power BI. One way is to get the data which is already stored in our table storage into the Power BI. And the second approach is to get the data directly from the Stream Analytics. That is when we get the live data. So let's just get started with the first way of getting the data, that is through the table storage. So once you have open your Power BI desktop, you will initially it will ask you to sign in. I have already signed in, so I'll just get started with it. The first thing is you need to do is click the get data over here. Now over here there are different sources from which you can get the data from. We'll click on Azure, and even in Azure there are different services from which you can get the data. If you remember, our data was in Azure table storage. So I'll just click Azure table storage and press connect. So it will ask us the name of your storage account. So if you remember, our name of the storage account was Noyo, and this was the access key. These two are things that are needed to proceed further. So I'll just quickly enter the name and the storage key. So if you enter the name, now since I've already entered the key, it won't ask, but for first time when you're logging it, it will ask for this access key. So this is the access key. You need to copy it and paste it over there. So once you have it over here, then it will ask for the table, which table to get the data from. There can be many tables. For the time being, let's just select one, table 1. So it will load a short version of the table 1. Just remember to edit the data before you load it. That is to select what all things we need from the table storage. So when you click edit, it will look something like this. Over here on the content, you have to click here to expand the data. So it's over here. So if you remember, this all the things that we are getting from your ESP8266, uh, light intensity, soil moisture, and temperature. This were the data that was stored in our table storage, and XYZ was our timestamp, which was generated by the Stream Analytics. So it's better to click load more. So now by default it is select all, so we don't need many of the things, like we don't need device ID. So once you have selected whatever data you want to represent, you can click OK. Okay, so here is our data set that which we are going to represent. Now, one more thing is we need to change the format of the data. So just select this row and you can press the control key of a keyboard and select the other column, and similarly this. If you see, these things are all in numbers, so we need to change the data type to as whole numbers. This is a very important step to represent the data. This is very needed for the data to be represented in a graphs and charts and other things, because only a numerical value can be represented in graph and charts. So let's that was it, and once you have done that, you can click close and apply. So it will take a minute or so. Okay, as you can see, the data has been loaded over here, and this is the table contents that we want to represent, and these are the different possible visualizations that we can use. For example, this is line chart. If you just click here, and over here we need to put the values. So first we'll put on the axis, we'll put the timestamp. Once you put the timestamp, just click here and click on timestamp, and on the value field we'll put as temperature. So as you can see, the temperature has been plotted. There is now the temperature is too much scattered, there is too much information here. We can actually filter this out using, if you go down, there are more options like filter by timestamp. You can also select the filtering options. Say if you want to filter only, if you want to represent only, say, first 50 values, then you can do that, say top 50 values, and by the value of timestamp. So you can say by the latest 50. So now we are getting only 50 values. And so there are different charts you can see. So that was the uh, line graph. Now there's one more cool visualization, is the gauge. That is, we can use it, say for this, represent this data. Now if you see here, it is representing the sum of all the values, but we want to get only the last value. So we'll add a timestamp as a filter. We just drag the timestamp over here and we'll add it as a top one, and by value of timestamp. And if you apply it, so the last value which was there, that will come over here. We can do the first one also. If you took the bottom one and if you apply it, it will come as the 16. That is the first value. So that's the way how we can represent the values that we saw in our table in a very graphical manner. One more thing is, after you've done creating your graph, you can publish this as a report. So once you publish this, you need to save it first. Let's just say test 2, and I'll just save it. Now, once it is saved, you can click on here, open the test to PBX in Power BI. So this will open in our portal. Here again, it will ask you to log in to your ID. Okay, so since I have already logged in, it is there. But for the first time users, if you're using in any new browser, it will ask to sign in. So that time, make sure you provide the credentials. Now, this is the report that we created in Power BI Desktop. Now, now you can also edit the report online. Now, you can once you publish it to your online portal, you can edit it anytime from anywhere. Even if you don't have the Power BI Desktop at the next time, you can still do some editing. For example, if I want to add one more gauge, I can just add one more gauge over here. And one more cool thing is I can save this and I can in the file there's something called publish to web. Once you do that and once you publish it, it will give you an link. If you copy it and you can pass it to anyone and you can open in the browser. So it's like your data is live. You can just share it with anyone. Maybe if you're working on a project or if you want to do something, say your company project or your personal monitoring project, IoT monitoring project, then you can automatically publish it to a page. Now, next time if you want to see the data, all I need to have this link in any browser. I can view this data from any machine that has an browsing capability. I don't need an special software for that. And now, one more cool thing is we can create something called as auto refresh. Now, what if your data is coming, I mean, new data is coming, you need to refresh the data set. So for that, we can have something called as scheduled refresh. Can click here, can go on schedule refresh. So you can schedule a refresh. You can either select daily or weekly, or you can add time, say like every day at uh, XYZ time, I want my data to be refreshed. You can, I think you can maximum add 8 such time in a whole day. So once you have added that, you create apply. So now you go back to test your test project. Now your data will get updated every day at certain time, whichever time you select. Now, and automatically this changes will also get reflected on this link. Whatever you do over here, and as soon as you refresh or save it, your changes will reflected on this link. So this link you can give it to your public. Anyway, you can make this data as a public by using this URL. So that was all about this project. You can do a lot of customization For example, this is the project that we did. This is like a demo project which we did a sample streaming using some sensors, environmental sensors, and we also include a static location. Now, this location, our device is sending one particular location. Say if we have multiple devices and each devices has an capability to send its coordinates, we can actually plot its location on a map, and you can have also multiple pages. So there's also an graph, and you can also see the graph in depth if you want to, and also you can see the data set if you want to have an very if you want to know the exact data at particular time, then you can do that also. And of course you can anytime publish this to web. I've already did that. So this is how it looks like on the web portal. All you just need to do is follow this URL and your data will be live. And again, you can set the time to be you can schedule the time when your data has to be refreshed. Currently, I think only 8 times a day it can do auto refresh. But if you want, you can manually also refresh from here and save it. So that will immediately get reflected. So this was the first approach in which we get the data from the table from our storage account. The next approach is where we get the data from the stream analytics itself. That is, once we have sending the data from our device to the event hub, then the stream analytics will take the data and push it to directly to Power BI. So for that, all we need to do is go to stream analytics job. I'll just stop it. Okay, I'll just go in the outputs. Now, last time if you remember, there were only two outputs. This third one is the one that when we created. Now, I'll just show you how to create it. I'll just add one more output. Maybe you can write it as Power BI 2, and the sync that can be, instead of table storage, will select Power BI. Now, whenever you do that, you need to authorize your Power BI account. That is, I mean, you need to link your Power BI account with your Azure portal. So if you click authorize, it will redirect a login page where you need to provide the Power BI credentials. So over here, you need to provide your Power BI credentials and you need to sign in. Since I've already created an output, I'm not going to do that, but that's the way. And then you have to do create. So this output, it is done exactly the same thing. I mean, I've created the same thing. Over once you do a sign in, you need to create a workspace and dataset. You can give any name as a dataset name, and workspace also you can give any name as a workspace. And the table name is the table which will be stored inside the Power BI. So this is different from what we saw earlier. This table is stored in the Power BI. So that's it. Just click save, and your Power BI output will be just created, and the query will be similar to what we saw in the previous one. So this is the query that is responsible to push the data to the Power BI. So in the previous query, it's similar to what we saw in the previous video. We are getting the data from device 1 and we are pushing it to Power BI this time instead of table storage. And this remains the same. We can actually remove this since we don't need the timestamp, but it's better to have it. There's one more cool thing that we can do is see the job diagram. This for this project, it is not much complicated, but if you have a very complicated structure, then this can help you to take a note of where your data is flowing, and this will give you a flow of data, how the things are happening in your uh, Azure portal. So over here we have the data that is going through to the device one event hub, and we are pushing the data into three different output. So this is out one, and this is the query that is responsible for the output one. And similarly, we have the other query for the second output that is again a table storage, and the third one is the Power BI. So this is where the stream analytics job is coming in. I mean the query, and this is the output. So you can see the table storage. If we click on that, you will get some details about what the partition key is and the row keys and what the name of the table is. Similarly, if you click Power BI, that will get the group workspace and stream your dataset name and your name of the table. So that's all we have to do in the stream analytics. Now we will go back to the Power BI. Over here, you can do one thing is we'll just click on create and create a dashboard. We'll call it test 3, and then we'll just click on add tile. And once you have it, we'll just go to real-time data, that is custom streaming data. Next, and if you can see in your data set as streaming data, this is the one that this is the one that we wrote in our uh, stream analytics query. So this is the data that is coming from our event hub streaming. This is the name of the data set that we are getting from the stream analytics. So if we just go here, click here, streaming data, and click next, then it will ask for visualization type. So one thing to remember is when you're streaming live data, the there are very limited number of visualizations that we can do. As you can see, the options are only limited to card, gauge. Card is just the present value. So if you select the card and if you click the field, it will ask for the fields that you are getting from the stream analytics. Let's just say light intensity. If you want, you can have any title. So this is the data that is coming from the stream analytics. Okay, so we can also add some tiles like here. I mean, we just now saw what card can do. Similarly, maybe we can add a gauge. So again, we'll go back to streaming data and click next. And instead of card, we'll add gauge and then add a value. Let's just say temperature and click next. We'll do apply. So now we have a data coming from temperature. Similarly, we can add one more tile Let's just say custom streaming data. Again, streaming data set. Next, maybe we can have a line chart, and an axis will take us XYZ, which was our timestamp, and in value we'll probably take maybe soil moisture, and let the timing window be 1 minute only. So now we have a soil moisture as well. This is a graph, and as you can see, this is an live streaming coming from the sensor. So we saw two different approaches to get the data into Power BI. One was to use a table storage where we store the data from the event hub into the table and then get the data through the to the Power BI, uh, and then we perform some charts and graph, and then from that we can publish a report on the web page, and we can also schedule an auto refresh, or you can manually refresh it. And this is good, but if you have an application where you need an real-time tracking of your devices, then you need to use the other method, that is to get the streaming data directly from the Azure Stream Analytics. S- Um, but the only drawback here is the number of visualizations are very limited, and also you can't publish this to a web page. I mean, if you want to access this data, you need to log in into this Power BI portal. So whoever needs to see this data needs to sign in. So that was all about it. So thank you for watching. Have fun.